Bolbinaka, Fiji. First off, I want to say how proud we are at the ministry of our Sevens heroes for their incredible repeat gold medal victory in Tokyo. For the length of the final game, the phones were quiet in our 165 emergency line for the first time in weeks. I'm sure most of us have seen the videos of our emergency workers stealing a moment of respite to cheer on our boys and celebrate their win. I know none of us will ever forget what that win meant for the nation at this time, because their success says something very powerful about the value of sacrifice. What we didn't see in the 14 minutes of action that secured us gold was the many months of sacrifices that the team members, coaches, and staff all made to keep themselves healthy and ready to compete at their full strength. I'm not talking only about the months of travel and training that kept them away from their families. I'm talking about their diligence to prevent themselves from contracting the virus. Many athletes in Tokyo have tested positive. Sadly, they have been unable to compete. But none of our Sevens players tested positive. All of them were available to perform at the very best because they went to great possible length to protect themselves. They were all fully vaccinated and they didn't unnecessarily socialize in ways that put themselves at risk. And we've seen what these sacrifices have led to, the greatness of an Olympic gold. That lesson applies to every Fijian as we strive for victory over this virus. If we want to get past the COVID crisis, great sacrifices will be demanded from all of us. Move only for essential and approved business needs, for groceries and medical emergencies. Otherwise, stay home, protect your loved ones, and maintain your COVID-safe measures. And please, do not gather for any reason. Today, our heroes arrived back from Japan with their gold medals in tow. I know we're all excited, but I've been watching some of our more irresponsible celebratory gatherings with growing concern. The Fiji police spent the hours after the match breaking up more than a few victory parties that could have easily resulted in rampant spread of the virus. That cannot continue. Though they are fully vaccinated, we're still entering our Sevens team members, coaches and staff into quarantine for a set period. Sorry boys, I can't open the border. I wish we could afford them the proper welcome home celebration they deserve when they exit. But we cannot afford to do so at this time. We have to scale things down for the sake of upholding our very important health protection measures. As for our daily update, we have confirmed 1,163 new cases over the past 24 hours and another 6 deaths due to the virus. I'm very sad to report that among the deaths we are reporting today was an 11-month-old infant. Severe disease and death due to COVID among infants are rare. However, the doctors overseeing this baby's care confirm that he did die because of COVID-19. And we know that once there is a very high level of infections reached in the community, these rare events do occur. It is an absolute tragedy when the most vulnerable in our community, our babies, become victims of this awful disease. It is why we at the ministry are looking and following the science and the advice of WHO very closely with regards to the vaccination of those below the age of 18. And we're making arrangements to import more vaccines once we know they are proven to offer safe and effective protection for children against the virus. While we await these vaccines for the younger group, we also need to remind you that every time you vaccinate, you also help to protect those not eligible for vaccination, including our children. Also, among the deaths that were announced this week was a second nurse colleague who was a frontliner. This is another frontliner colleague that we knew and loved, and our sympathies are extended to their families and to all the families who have lost a loved one. She was not vaccinated, and in line with government policy, she was on leave at the time that she became infected. As previously announced, we have set our personal protective equipment distribution program to ensure that the large stocks that we have are always readily available to all the health workers in the front line, especially those who work in the critical care units and emergency departments. By ensuring that our healthcare workers are fully vaccinated, well-trained in PPE use, and are diligent in helping each other to maintain PPE discipline in the workplace, we will be able to maintain health worker numbers in our health facilities. To date, nobody has died in Fiji from COVID-19 after being fully vaccinated. We know this is the best protection that we can afford to provide for all our colleagues in the front line. Many have asked me about workplace guidance to help deal with the maintaining of staff capacity and reducing the risk of transmission among workers as much as possible. All businesses that are open at the moment have put forward COVID-safe operational plans approved by MCTTT. These measures must be enforced to the letter. As a reminder to all employers, employees, and customers, the key is to minimize contact as much as possible and avoid concentrated gatherings entirely. We need strong workplace measures to support and have oversight in ensuring regular hand washing, strict physical distancing, mask wearing, avoidance of contact, crowds, and contained spaces, opting for smaller working groups in the workplace with protocols that support working from home, the use of ventilation interventions in the workplace. They include things like opening windows, inspecting and maintaining dedicated exhaust ventilation, disabling any ventilation methods that recycle indoor air, repositioning outdoor air dampeners, using fans to increase the effectiveness of open windows, repositioning supply and exhaust diffusers to create what we call directional airflow. And we're urging businesses to employ further interventions, such as adding portable HEPA fan filter systems and also ultraviolet germicidal technology to the workplace. The point that I really want to make is that making workplaces safer needs to be an ongoing process of making changes and actively seeking out options based on the many guidelines that are out there. It should not be a mere checkbox measure to align businesses to MCTTT requirements. There are strict penalties in place for businesses who violate our COVID-safe measures to support them in their opening of their business. Now, on the use of rapid diagnostic tests. Rapid diagnostic tests are tests used to diagnose COVID-19 in a specific environment and have the advantage of being able to produce a result very quickly, usually within 30 minutes or less. And it can be done outside the traditional setting of a laboratory. However, they work best when the limitations of the test are clearly understood by the user. They should not be conducted for persons with no symptoms unless they are conducted on a person at a regular interval. Like everybody in a workplace, you get tested every day or every second day or every third day. Then that might be useful. And another thing that's important about the RDTs, they should not be used to clear a person from isolation. When We have been telling everyone that lives in the Suva area, if you have symptoms of COVID-19, you should assume you have COVID-19 and self-isolate for 14 days. Keep watch for severe COVID-19 symptoms. Immediately seek emergency medical care if they are present. However, if you're over the age of 50 or have an illness that increases your risk of developing severe COVID-19, you must come to the screening clinics to get tested and put on an appropriate care pathway where you will be monitored by our health teams. If you test positive on the rapid diagnostic test, you can assume that you have COVID-19 and self-isolate for 14 days. However, if you have symptoms and you test negative on the rapid diagnostic test, you should still assume that you have COVID-19 and self-isolate. So in essence, just having the symptoms should be enough for you to say, I got COVID-19 if you are in the Central Division right now. We know that these rapid tests have a high risk of producing a false negative result than the regular gold standard molecular testing, which is used by the ministry to confirm all negative rapid tests conducted at the screening clinics. So what I'm saying is that our rapid diagnostic tests have a high risk of producing negative result. So we are now using some of the negative result. We have to send it again to our lab at the ministry CDC lab so that they can confirm that the negative tests are indeed negative. As of today, 80% of all eligible adults in Fiji have received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine. That is the halfway mark in our campaign to fully vaccinate 587,651 Fijians by the end of October. We've worked hard to get to this point. Just like in rugby, complacency in the second half spells a whole lot worse than taking silver. We have to finish strong, just like our Sevens heroes, and win our victory over this virus by vaccinating as many adults in Fiji as we possibly can. Lives depend on our success. If you've received one dose, come forward for dose number 2. If you are yet to be vaccinated, please do. We have enough vaccines in country for everyone eligible. Lastly, we are grateful to see the national budget for the upcoming financial year pass in Parliament this week. It funds the hiring of hundreds of healthcare professionals to strengthen the front line of our containment response. That means we can offer more COVID-related and non-COVID-related care to the public, while allowing our frontliners to share the heavy workload with colleagues and also to take a break when they need it. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. So as just announced by Dr. Fong, we have 1,163 new cases of COVID-19 to report for the 24-hour period that ended at 8 a.m. this morning. 483 of these cases are from the Western Division and 680 cases are from the Central Division. A full breakdown of areas of interest will be published tonight on the Ministry of Health's online dashboard, as well as on the Fijian government Facebook page. You can also view the approximate locations of new cases, active cases, and recovered cases on the dashboard. There have been 244 new recoveries since the last update, which means there are now 21,109 active cases in Fiji. 18,211 of these active cases are in the Central Division, and 2,898 of these cases are in the West. All the cases that were previously recorded in the Northern and the Eastern Division have recovered, and there are no active cases currently in those divisions. There have been 28,590 cases in the outbreak that started in April of this year, and we've recorded a total of 28,660 cases in Fiji since our first case was recorded in March of 2020, with 7,195 recoveries. As announced by the Permanent Secretary, we also have 6 new COVID-19 deaths to report for the period of 19th July to the 29th of July. The first death, as reported by the Permanent Secretary, is an 11-month-old infant from Delai Valilevu. He was brought to CWM Hospital, where he was assessed by the pediatric specialist team to be in severe respiratory distress. He was reported by his family to have had fever and fast breathing for at least 3 days before he was brought to hospital. Sadly, his condition worsened in hospital and he died on the same day of the 19th of July. He was not vaccinated, but of course he was not in the target population of people 18 years and over eligible to receive the vaccine. The second COVID-19 death to report is an 80-year-old woman from Lami who died at home on the 29th of July. She was not vaccinated. The third COVID-19 death to report is a 61-year-old man from Suva who died at home on the 29th of July. He was not vaccinated. The sixth COVID-19 death to report is a 60-year-old man from Wainimbuku. He presented to a health facility in severe respiratory distress and he was retrieved by the medical team to CWM Hospital. His condition worsened in hospital and he died 1 day after admission on the 29th of July. He was not vaccinated. There have been 4 more deaths of COVID-positive patients, but their deaths have been classified as non-COVID deaths by their doctors. Their doctors have determined that their deaths were caused by the serious pre-existing medical conditions that they had before they contracted COVID-19. There have now been 233 deaths due to COVID-19 in Fiji, with 231 of these deaths during the outbreak that started in April of this year. Our 7-day average of COVID-19 deaths has increased now to 9 deaths per day. In terms of hospitalizations, there are currently 313 COVID-19 patients admitted to hospital. 34 of these patients are admitted at the Lotoko Hospital. In Suva, 88 patients are admitted at the FEMAT Field Hospital, and 191 are admitted at CWM, St. Giles, and McCoy. 53 patients are considered to be in severe condition, and 11 are in critical condition. In terms of testing, since the outbreak started in April of this year, we have tested 266,822 samples for COVID-19, with 309,743 samples tested since testing began in March 2020. 3,451 tests have been reported for July the 28th, and our average test per day is at 3,247 or 3.7 tests per 1,000 population. Our national 7-day average test positivity is at 27.5%. Our 7-day average of new cases per day is at 976 cases per day or 1,103 cases per million population. Of course, our daily case numbers remain high and our daily test positivity remains high. Both these indicators indicate that there's widespread community transmission in the Suva Nosori containment zone, and we're also seeing increasing cases in the west and further evidence of community transmission in that division as well. The northern and eastern divisions currently have no active cases. So as announced last week, for people with COVID-19 symptoms in Suva Nosori, we know that community transmission in Suva Nosori is very high. What this means is that anyone who develops symptoms of COVID-19 in Suva Nosori should assume that they have COVID-19. So most people with COVID-19 will have mild symptoms. This includes cough, running nose, sore throat, fever, body ache, headache, a loss of taste, or loss of smell. And most will recover at home with no medical intervention necessary. So people who have any of these symptoms and are not in a group that are at higher risk of developing severe disease will no longer be tested for COVID-19. And you should stay home, self-isolate for 14 days, and continue to monitor your symptoms for severe COVID-19. If you have symptoms of severe COVID-19 like difficulty breathing or chest pain, you must go immediately to one of the designated COVID-19 care facilities. So that's the CWM Hospital, the FEMAT Hospital, and in Nosori, the Nosori Health Center, or one in Bokasi Hospital. And you can call 165 if you're unable to get to one of these facilities. However, and this is very important, and this is why we have changed our testing strategy in Suva Nosori. If you or someone you're caring for has mild symptoms of COVID-19, but you're at risk of severe COVID-19, so if you are over the age of 50, if you have diseases like diabetes or heart disease or kidney disease, high blood pressure, asthma, if you're obese or you're pregnant, you must come forward to a screening clinic to get tested and advised by our medical teams. If you test positive, we'll ensure that you provided information about what you should do and that you put into the appropriate care pathway and that our teams monitor you. Because we have targeted our testing now in Suva Nosori to people in these high-risk groups, our clinical teams, our response teams on the ground are better able to monitor people who are in the severe disease category, who are more likely to develop severe disease. And the intention is that we will find people who start developing severe disease early and that we are able to intervene as early as possible. However, we are still seeing a lot of people dying at home or dying within a day or two of coming to hospital. So we continue to urge you, if you fall into one of these categories or someone at home is over the age of 50 or has one of these chronic diseases and is having symptoms of COVID-19, even very mild symptoms like a headache or body ache, please, you need to come forward to our health facilities to get tested and get advised by our clinical teams. For people anywhere else in Fiji, we are still doing widespread testing. So if you have symptoms of COVID-19 and you live outside Suva Nosori, please come to your nearest please call 158 or come to your nearest screening clinic to get tested. And if you do have symptoms and you want to come to a screening clinic to get tested, make sure that you're wearing a mask that covers your nose and your mouth. Keep at least 2 meters between yourself and others. Try and avoid using public transport, and come to our screening clinic to get tested. And please also download the Care Fiji app and have your Bluetooth on. Also, and if you live somewhere else in Fiji outside Suva Nosori, call 158 if you've been in contact with someone you know has COVID-19. In terms of vaccination, as of the 29th of July, 473,716 adults in Fiji have received their first dose of the vaccine, and 131,979 have received their second dose. This means that 81% of our target population, so adults, 81% of adults have now received the first dose, and 22.5% have now been fully vaccinated nationally. What this tells us is that we're doing very well as a country in coming forward to get vaccinated. And what we're seeing around the world with the rise of the Delta variant is that countries with high levels of vaccination, they're getting cases still. They're having spikes in cases because we know that if you get vaccinated against COVID-19, it does reduce your risk of catching the disease, but it does not eliminate it. You can still get COVID-19 if you're fully vaccinated, but it reduces your risk of getting severe disease or getting hospitalized by 92%. So that is being seen in other countries that have very high rates of vaccination. So Israel, the United Kingdom, they're seeing increasing cases, but they're not seeing the same level of increase in severe disease and hospitalizations and death that they did during their previous outbreaks. And that is very important because what we know with COVID-19 and what we're seeing in the world and in Fiji is that it's not going away. At some point, no matter how many precautions you take, and we ask you still, wear a mask, maintain 2 meters social distancing from others when you go outside, at some point in your lifetime, it's likely you will get COVID-19. But if you do get COVID-19, you want to be vaccinated because you want to have that 92% protection against severe disease. Thank you.
Bulawanaka, today is day 106 since the onset of this outbreak. We continue to provide our health services to all those who need. We currently have community as well as hospital isolations that are looking after COVID positive patients. In our hospitals, we currently have 313 patients, positive patients admitted. 84 of them have severe to critical disease. 64 patients are on oxygen, and we currently have 6 patients who are ventilated. We continue with our screening and contact tracing work. At our stationary clinic in the last 24 hours, we screened a total of 6,265 individuals and swabbed 1,082 to give a total cumulative total of 384,200 individuals screened to date and 70,744 or 18% swabbed. In the Western Division, they continue with the active work of case finding through contact tracing and mobile surveillance. Our community engagement pillar, headed by the NDMO office and supported by government ministries, are working well in garnering community support and in raising awareness in the community. The support towards community needs in water, sanitation, and food, as well as psychological support, continues. The community information collected by the team have been useful to date in directing our planned health activities, including the vaccination campaign. In terms of health services, all our major health facilities remain fully functional in all divisions, providing emergency services, admissions, and inpatient care for COVID as well as non-COVID patients. General outpatient services continue in our health centers and subdivisional hospitals. As stated by Dr. Alicia in the Central Division, we have established a patient care flow pathway that ensures that all cases of COVID-19 that are identified are tracked and followed up through either home visitations or home admissions, care within a healthcare facility, or whether it's in an isolation facility or at the main hospital. What this essentially means is if a patient is diagnosed with COVID-19, that patient will be directed to a care plan where the patient will be either be admitted at home and followed up through telehealth, or admitted in an intermediate care facility such as the field hospital and cared for by our team, or admitted into our main hospital for high-level care. We are engaging many volunteers and civil servants in running these services and supporting the technical clinical team, and they have been very valuable in using their own expertise in communications, data management, and logistics management to assist in delivering these services. If you need assistance with health services, call 158 or call 165 and follow the links to access ambulance services, care for chronic diseases, social support, children's care, care for mothers, surgical care, care for cancer, as well as eye care. To conclude, the ministry remains concerned with a high number of deaths in our elderly population, and we urge again for all of us to make every effort to protect the elderly and the vulnerable in our families and our communities. Stay at home and move only for the 3 reasons: to buy food, to access health care, or to go to essential work. Use your mask when you are outside your home or in the presence of the elderly and the vulnerable. Wash your hand with soap and water or alcohol, hand rub, and social distance for 2 meters. Cover your nose and mouth when you cough or sneeze with a tissue or the bend of your elbow. And lastly, make sure you, the elderly in your home, and the vulnerable who are with you are fully vaccinated. Ina walevu, and good evening.